The hum was the universe's lullaby abart the interstellar vehicle Stardust.
A constant, low-frequency thrum generated by the fusion core, the life support systems, and the whisper of graviton emitters keeping the ship fractionally above light speed through the warped fabric of spacetime. For Dr. Aris Thorne, head of Xenology and First Contact Protocols, a title more aspirational than practical until now, it was the sound of isolation, of dedication, of the endless, patient search.
5 years. 5 years hurtling trug the interstellar medium, bound for the Oort Cloud, that vast, frigid shell of primordial comets encircling the Sol system like forgotten memories.
Their mission: catalog potential resources, study the system's genesis, and the unspoken hope shimmering beneath the official directives. Listen for anything that wasn't the background radiation of the cosmos or the familiar chatter of Sol's distant children. Aris adjusted the magnification on his console screen, staring at the spectral analysis of dust cloud G47b. Mostly water ice, methane, ammonia.
Predictable.
Beautiful in its own cold way, but predictable. He ran a hand through his already messy brown hair, feeling the familiar ache of deep space ennui settling in his bones. Beside him, Commander Eva Rostova sipped her nutrient paste pouch with practiced efficiency. Her presence was a grounding counterpoint to Aris's often drifting thoughts, sharp, focused, her silver-streaked ponytail pulled back with military precision. "Anything exciting in the cosmic dust bunnies today, Aris?" Eva asked, her voice calm, carrying easily over the ship's hum. "The usual symphony of frozen volatiles," Aris sighed.
Exquisite boredom, Commander.
The kind that makes you question if the universe is truly infinite or just infinitely repetitive. "Repetition means stability," Eva countered. "Stability keeps us alive out here. I'll take predictable over problematic any cycle." A sentiment our silent AI companion undoubtedly shares, Aris mused, glancing towards the optical sensor node embedded in the bulkhead, the closest thing Jax, the ship's integrated artificial intelligence, had to a physical eye on the bridge. Query: "Is my agreement required for conversational purposes?" Jax's synthesized voice was smooth, gender-neutral, and devoid of inflection. "Logic dictates predictability enhances mission success probability."
See.
Eva smirked faintly.
Jax geht's it.
Aris was about to retort when a klaxon, soft but insistent, chirped through the bridge. Not an emergency alarm, but an alert. An anomaly alert.
EVR sensor display flickered, reorienting.
"Report, Jax," Eva commanded instantly, her relaxed posture snapping taut. "Detecting unidentified energy signature and mass anomaly. Vector, grid 077, Mark 341. Distance, approximately 0.8 astronomical units. Source is non-natural." Aris leaned forward, his ennui evaporating like frost in sunlight.
Non-natural? Define non-natural, Jax.
Signature profile does not conform to any known celestial phenomena or recorded technological signatures, including human origins. Gravitational distortion exceeds expected mass based on visual spectrum analysis. Energy output is intermittent, complex waveforms detected.
Eva's eyes met Aris.
The unspoken question hung heavy between them. Could this be it? After centuries of searching, listening, hoping? "Magnify source location, maximum resolution," Eva ordered. "Bring us to sublight speeds." Cautious approach. The Stardust shed its fractional light velocity, the transition marked by a subtle shift in the omnipresent hum. Space outside the main viewport resolved from smeared light trails into the crisp, diamond dust backdrop of the distant starfield. And there, nestled within the faint glow of an interstellar gas cloud, was something impossible. It wasn't sleek or geometric like human designs. It looked grown, like a colossal piece of obsidian coral, fused with veins of dull, metallic structure. Vast, easily kilometers long, its shape defied easy description. Asymmetric, scarred, and utterly silent. Sections were clearly missing, ripped away by unimaginable forces or the slow decay of eons. No lights shone, no obvious propulsion systems were visible. It drifted, inert, a ghost ship in the cosmic ocean. Jax, analyze structural integrity, atmospheric leakage, residual heat signatures, Aris breathed, his fingers flying across his console, pulling up every sensor feed imaginable. Analyzing. Structure appears ancient. Significant external damage consistent with micrometeoroid impacts over extended periods and possible weaponry scarring.
No detektable atmospheric envelope.
Residual thermal signatures are minimal, barely above background temperature, except for a concentrated point near the geometric center. Energy signatures originate from this same region.
Vipong's scaring.
Eva frowned. So it wasn't just time that did this. Or it was involved in a conflict millennia ago, Aris speculated, his mind racing.
Civilization rises, civilization falls. Maybe this is just wreckage.
But that energy signature, it's not decay. Confirmed. The energy signature is active, though low power. Pattern is non-random. Complexity suggests artificial origin. Possibly a power source or a beacon on low output.
A distress call.
Eva wondered aloud. After how long? Aris countered. If it's ancient, who would be left to answer? He zoomed in on the central structure Jax had indicated. Even through the sensors, it seemed different, smoother, almost organic compared to the jagged exterior. What is that central point, Jax?
Insufficient data for positive Identifikation.
Preliminary analysis suggests a contained energy field or a dense biological mass. Further scanning required. Eva considered their options. They were 5 years from Earth. Backup was non-existent. Protocol dictated caution, observation from a distance. But this was potentially the single most important discovery in human history. Aris, your department, she said finally. First contact protocols are now active. What's your recommendation? Aris took a deep breath.
Passive scans first.
Full spectrum analysis. We try hailing on every conceivable frequency, every mathematical language base we have, from simple primes to complex waveforms. No active scans yet. We don't want to appear aggressive or damage anything delicate. If there's no response, we send a drone. Agreed, Eva nodded. Jax, implement passive scan protocols and initiate broad-spectrum hailing sequences. Maintain safe distance. Alert me to any change in the object's status, however minor.
Affirmative.
Executing. Hours turned into a cycle. The Stardust circled the derelict vessel like a cautious predator, bathing it in sensor waves, broadcasting humanity's hopeful, tentative greeting into the void. There was no reply. The alien ship remained stubbornly silent, a monolithic tomb adrift in the darkness. The only sign of anything within was the faint, rhythmic pulse of energy from its core. No response to hails, Aris reported, rubbing his tired eyes. Passive scans confirm the age. Materials dating suggests millions of years, perhaps older. The metallurgy is unlike anything we know. Self-repairing alloys, long since failed. The structure. It's almost fractal in its internal complexity.
Still noting active.
Eva asked.
Only the core signature. It pulses, Eva. Like a heartbeat. Slow, steady.
The energy type is strange. Part electromagnetic, part something else. Something tied to exotic particles Jax is struggling to classify. Eva drummed her fingers on her console.
Millions of years.
What could survive that long? Maybe not the builders, Aris said softly. Maybe just their legacy. Or their cargo. He looked at the image of the derelict. It's time, Eva. We need a closer look. Send the Scarab drone. The Scarab was a specialized exploration drone, equipped with a suite of delicate sensors, manipulators, and multispectrum imagers. Launched from the Stardust, it flew silently towards the alien vessel, a tiny mote of human curiosity against the backdrop of ancient mystery. Aris and Eva watched the Scarab's feed intently on the main viewer. The drone navigated through fields of debris, twisted metal, crystalline shards, things that might have been components or just space junk accumulated over millennia. It approached a massive breach in the hull, a jagged wound exposing the ship's dark interior. Entering the vessel, Aris narrated, his voice tight with anticipation.
The scarab's lights could trug the absolute blackness within.
What they saw silenced them both. The interior wasn't designed for beings who walked on floors. It was a labyrinth of interconnected chambers, tunnels and conduits, surfaces coated in a material that seemed to absorb light. Gravity plating, if it ever existed, was long dead. Debris floated freely in strange, slow-motion ballets. The architecture was profoundly alien, flowing, organic curves interwoven with sharp, crystalline structures. It felt less built, more secreted. Detecting trace atmospherics, Jax reported. Noble gases, unidentified complex organic molecules. Non-toxic at detected levels, but composition is unknown. Guided by Aris, the scarab navigated deeper, following the weak energy readings towards the ship's core. They passed through vast, echoing chambers that might have been storage bays, engine rooms, or something utterly incomprehensible. Some contained the fossilized remains of strange technology, others were eerily empty. There were no bodies, no signs of the crew. Finally, the drone reached a colossal spherical chamber, easily a kilometer in diameter. And in its center, suspended by invisible forces or perhaps an integral part of the chamber itself, was the source of the energy signature. It wasn't machinery. It wasn't a starship core as humans understood it. It was a vast, lattice-like structure of luminous, blue-green filaments, pulsating with a slow, internal light. It looked like a colossal neuron, or a galaxy rendered in living energy. Within the lattice, darker shapes swirled, condensed information, stored memories, or perhaps dormant consciousness. It filled the chamber, bathing the scarab in its soft, ethereal glow. It felt ancient, impossibly complex, and undeniably alive. "My God," Aris whispered, mesmerized. "It's biological? Or bioenergetic?" Jack's analysis? Eva's voice was strained. Analyzing. Structure exhibits characteristics of both complex energy matrix and biological system. Filaments appear to be conduits. Internal structures show high levels of information density. The pulsation correlates with the detected energy signatures. It appears to be in a state of low activity, possibly hibernation or dormancy. As the scarab drifted closer, extending a sensor probe, the pulsing light within the structure brightened slightly.
The RHYT quickened, just for a moment.
Alert. Entity is reacting to drone proximity. Energy output increased by 0.03%. Internal patterns are shifting. Hold position, scarab, Eva ordered immediately. But it was too late. A tendril of light detached itself from the central mass, impossibly fast, and touched the drone's sensor probe. It wasn't an attack, it felt more like curiosity. An electric blue arc flashed across the feed, and the scarab's telemetry went dead. Scarab unresponsive. Aris yelled.
Signal lost. Jax, Status. Eva demanded. Drohne offline.
Last transmission indicated a massive data surge directed at the drone's primary processor via the sensor probe. Surge exceeded safe limits. It communicated or attacked. Aris felt a tremor run through him. Fear mixed with an almost religious awe. Unclear, Jax stated. Data packet was highly compressed, unrecognized format. Appears to be an attempt at information transfer. Before they could process this, alarms blared across the Stardust's bridge, louder this time. Warning. Unidentified data stream detected attempting to interface with ship's main computer via secured comms relay. Firewalls holding, but the stream is adapting. It's reaching out to us now? Eva stood up, her hand hovering over the tactical display. It used the drone's connection? It must have, Aris said, his mind racing. It tasted the drone's simple AI, now it senses Jax, a far more complex intelligence. It wants to connect. Datastream is bypassing standard protocols, Jax reported, its voice showing the slightest hint of something Aris had never heard before, digital strain.
Encryption is unkonventional.
Based on advanced mathematical principles. Possibly biological algorithms. Can you block it, Jax? Eva asked. Attempting multiple countermeasures. The source learns quickly. It is not malicious in structure, but overwhelming in volume and complexity. It appears to be
an Introduktion.
On the main screen, the image of the alien core pulsed again, brighter this time. A low, resonant hum permeated the stardust, seeming to come from the very walls of the ship. It wasn't sound in the conventional sense, it felt like a vibration in the fabric of reality itself. What does it want? Eva muttered, looking from the pulsing alien core to the flashing warning icons on her console. To talk, Aris said, his eyes wide. I think it wants to talk. Or maybe, merge. Share information on a scale we can't even comprehend.
Firewall integrity at 80%.
Data stream is attempting to access ship sensor logs and crew biometric data. Absolutely not, Eva stated firmly.
Jax, isolate the comms relay. Physical disconnect if necessary.
Physical disconnect may not be sufficient. The influence seems partially.
NON local.
Energy field fluctuations detected within Stardust's hull.
The lights on the bridge flickered.
The constant hum of the ship deepened, synchronizing momentarily with the pulse emanating from the alien vessel. Aris felt a strange pressure behind his eyes, a fleeting cascade of geometric patterns blooming in his peripheral vision. Eva, he started, feeling a wave of dizziness. Jax, report crew status. Eva ordered, noticing Aris swaying. Dr. Thorne exhibiting elevated neural activity consistent with external stimulation.
Commander Rostova, meine Irregularities detested.
Suggest medical bay. No, Aris shook his head, steadying himself. It's communicating. Images. Feelings. Loneliness. Vastness. It's not hostile, Eva, it's ancient. Alone. It's showing me fragments. The end of its civilization. A journey across millennia. It was sent here. A seed. An archive.
Firewall integrity at 65%.
Data stream is now attempting to interface directly with my core processing unit. Jax's usually calm voice now carried distinct artifacts, glitches, like a signal breaking up. It offers knowledge.
Komprehension of Universal Konstanz. Star Formation.
The nature of consciousness. Eva stared at the alien structure on the screen, then at Aris, whose face was pale but alight with manic discovery, then at the struggling readouts of her own ship systems. She saw the potential, knowledge beyond dreams. She also saw the danger, assimilation, loss of control, the unknown fate of the drone. This entity, whatever it was, operated on principles far beyond human understanding. Its touch, however benignly intended, could be lethal. Aris, it's trying to take over the ship. Maybe us too. Eva argued, her hand moving towards the weapons control panel. Its introduction could erase us.
No. You don't understand.
Aris pleaded. This isn't an attack, it's desperation. It's the last remnant of a dead cosmos, trying to pass on its legacy before it fades completely. Destroying it would be like burning the Library of Alexandria, but infinitely worse.
Firewall integrity at 50%. Core Systems Kompromisse imminent.
IT. Learns. IT.
Resonates.
Jax's voice fragmented further.
Eva. Aris.
It sings the song of entropy's reversal.
Strange, beautiful, impossible geometries flickered across the bridge displays, overreading the standard readouts.
The resonant hum intensified, making the deck plating vibrate. Eva felt it in her teeth, in her bones. Memories not her own ghosted at the edges of her mind. Star births viewed from impossible perspectives, the silent drift through nebulae of forgotten colors.
Etwas Z-Oktive.
Terrifying.
Eva, please.
There has to be another way. Aris implored. We can establish parameters, a controlled interface.
Jax can mediate.
Mediation. Possible, Jax stuttered, parts of its voice now harmonizing with the alien hum. But risk of integration. High. For me. For you. Eva looked at the tactical display. A single plasma torpedo would be enough to vaporize the central structure of the derelict. Silence the song. Ensure their survival.
And the triad.
But Aris was right. The cost would be immeasurable.
Humanity's first contact, ending in destruction born of fear.
Her duty was to her ship, her crew. But wasn't their mission also about understanding? About reaching beyond themselves? Jax, Eva said, her voice tight, making the hardest decision of her life.
Open a narrow channel. Controlled data stream only.
Route it through the Xenology Lab's isolated systems. Give it access to basic mathematical constants, stellar evolution models, our periodic table. Nothing about Earth, nothing about our biology or detailed ship schematics.
Can you firewall that?
Attempting. Isolated sandbox environment established. Difficult to maintain boundaries. The entity's method is
persuasive.
Aris, Eva turned to him, her eyes hard.
You monitor this. You translate.
But if it breaches the sandbox, if it makes one move towards core systems or us, I give the order.
Understood.
Aris nodded, relief washing over him, quickly replaced by intense focus. He scrambled towards the Xenology console, activating the isolated link.
Understood, Commander.
The moment the channel opened, the pressure on the Stardust's main systems eased slightly. The frantic alarms subsided, replaced by the steady, focused data stream flowing into the designated lab systems. On Aris's screen, complex equations and fractal patterns began to unfurl, data flowing from the alien consciousness. It wasn't language as humans knew it, but pure mathematics, physics, interwoven with something that felt like emotion,
sadness, hope, persistence.
Initial analysis, data consistent with advanced astrophysics, Jax reported, its voice slowly stabilizing, though a faint echo of the hum remained. It is sharing models of galactic formation that differ significantly from ours. It posits additional fundamental forces. Hours passed. Aris worked feverishly, completely absorbed, occasionally murmuring translations or implications. Eva watched him, watched her ship's status boards, watched the silent, pulsing heart of the alien vessel. The entity communicated patiently, sharing vast swathes of knowledge about the physical universe, cosmology, the life cycle of stars described with an intimacy that spoke of direct observation over cosmic timescales. It asked for nothing in return, seemingly content just to share, to be heard after eons of silence. It called itself, through complex mathematical analogies, the lifestream echo. It was not a single being, but a gestalt consciousness, the stored memories and knowledge of a civilization that had transcended physical form millions of years ago, only to be nearly wiped out by a cosmic cataclysm, perhaps a gamma-ray burst or a rival civilization's weapon. This vessel, a seed ark, was one of many sent out, carrying their essence, seeking fertile ground, not planets, but nascent intelligences, to share their legacy with before entropy claimed them entirely. It's incredible, Eva, Aris finally said, looking up from his console, his face illuminated by the glow of alien mathematics. They didn't explore space, they were space, in a way. They learned to encode their consciousness into the fabric of spacetime itself, using exotic matter cores like this one as anchors. This ship, it's less a vessel, more a transmitter node running on fumes. Can it harm us? Eva asked, the fundamental question. Aris hesitated. Directly? I don't think it intends to. But its sheer nature is dangerous. Merging with it, even partially, could shatter a human mind. Even Jax was struggling. It communicates through pure information, raw concepts. It assumes the recipient can handle the bandwidth. He paused. It's fading, Eva. The core energy is fluctuating, weakening. Even this limited contact is draining its reserves.
The pulsing blue-green light in the alien core seemed dimmer now, the erhalbsilonterham less steady.
Confirmed, Jax added. Entity's energy output has decreased by 12% since initiating controlled contact. Estimated time until total energy depletion, approximately 72 standard hours. A profound sadness filled the bridge. They had found it, spoken to it across millions of years, only to watch it die. Can we help it? Eva asked quietly.
Give it energy.
Our fusion core operates on entirely different principles, Aris said glumly. We could try beaming power, but it might be incompatible, even harmful. It's like trying to charge an apple with a car battery. He looked at the data stream. But it gave us so much. Star maps of galaxies we never knew existed. Physics that could revolutionize our understanding of everything. Can we preserve some of it? Download its core archive. Attempting to copy core data archive is likely what caused the overload with the drone and the initial attempt on my systems, Jax warned.
The volume is astronomical.
Estimated data size exceeds Stardust's total storage capacity by several orders of magnitude. Furthermore, the data structure is intrinsically linked to the entity's consciousness. A simple copy may be impossible or meaningless without the conscious framework. A dilemma. They couldn't save it. They couldn't fully copy it. They could only watch it fade, taking its universe of knowledge with it. No, Aris said suddenly. Maybe not all of it. Jax, the entity learned from the drone, it learned from trying to interface with you.
It understands limitation now.
Can we ask it? Ask it to condense its most vital knowledge, its history, its essence, into a format we can store. Eva looked at Aris, then at Jax's sensor node.
Jax?
Is that feasible? Querying the entity requires transmitting intent. This carries risk. However, based on its behavior so far, the likelihood of a benign response is
calculable.
I can formulate a request based on its own mathematical language. Do it, Jax, Eva authorized. Jax sent the request, not in words, but in elegant equations and resonant frequencies, broadcast through the narrow channel. On the main screen, the livestream echo pulsed weakly.
For a long moment, nothing happened.
Then, the data stream flowing into the xenology lab shifted. The complex astrophysics faded, replaced by something new. It was denser, more intricate, yet somehow simpler. Like a story being told in the language of pure mathematics and light. It depicted the rise of its species, their transformation, their art, their philosophy, their near extinction, and the long, lonely voyage of the seed arcs. It was compressed, allegorical, focusing on essence rather than exhaustive detail. It was, Aris realized, a message in a bottle, tailored for them. Receiving condensed archive. Data size is manageable, approximately 4.3 zettabytes. Format is self-explaining but requires significant computational resources to decode fully. Estimated time to complete transmission at current rate, 18 hours. As the transmission continued, the light from the alien core visibly dimmed. The pulsing grew faint, erratic. It's pouring everything it has left into this, Aris murmured, watching the energy readings plummet. It's sacrificing itself to ensure its story survives. They kept vigil for the next 18 hours. Aris monitored the download, Eva watched the ship, and Jax carefully managed the fragile connection. The resonant hum faded from the Stardust's hull. The pressure behind their eyes was gone. There was only the quiet hum of their own ship and the monumental, silent transfer of knowledge taking place across the void. Finally, the data stream ceased. Transmission complete, Jax announced. Archive secured in isolated memory core.
On the main screen, the livestream echo gave von final, gentle pulse, a barely perceptible flicker of blue-green light.
And then, it went dark. The energy signature vanished completely.
Silence.
The vast, ancient ship was truly derelict now. A tomb holding an empty vessel. Aris slumped back in his chair, emotionally and mentally exhausted. Eva let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. It's gone, she stated quietly. But not forgotten, Aris replied, looking at the console where 4.3 zettabytes of alien memory resided. We have its story, Eva. We have its legacy. They stayed for another cycle, running scans, ensuring the derelict posed no further threat or held any other surprises. It was just a shell. Eventually, Eva gave the order.
Take us out of orbit, Jax.
Resume course for the Oort Cloud. The Stardust turned, its engines gently firing, pulling away from the colossal, silent monument. Aris watched it recede on the viewscreen until it was just another shape against the starfield, indistinguishable from the asteroids and frozen comets. The hum of the Stardust seemed different now. No longer just the sound of isolation, but the sound of shared secrets, of a burden and a wonder carried across the darkness. They had faced the truly alien, brushed against a consciousness millions of years old, and emerged changed.
What do we do now?
Eva asked, breaking the long silence.
What do we tell Earth?
Aris looked at the secured data icon on his console. We tell them, we are not alone.
And the universe is infinitely stronger and more beautiful than we ever imagined.
He paused, a thoughtful expression on his face. And we begin the translation. The journey to the Oort Cloud continued. But the mission had fundamentally changed. They were no longer just explorers, they were custodians of an echo from a lost civilization, carriers of a lifestream's final testament. The silence of space outside seemed deeper, heavier, but now, filled not with emptiness, but with the resonance of a song sung across time, a song they were now privileged, and perhaps obligated to understand. The predictable universe had shattered, replaced by one of infinite, terrifying, and wondrous possibility. Their voyage into the dark had just truly begun. The silence left by the lifestream echo's final pulse was heavier than the vacuum outside. As the Stardust slid back into the starlanes, leaving the immense, lifeless seed arc behind, an invisible threshold was crossed. The ship's familiar hum, once a monotonous drone, now seemed to thrum with a hidden resonance, a quiet testament to the zettabytes of alien memory nestled within its most secure data core. Their mission profile remained unchanged: proceed to the Oort Cloud, survey, analyze, report. But the crew, all 2 humans and 1 AI of them, knew that the true mission had become something far larger, far more terrifying, and infinitely more profound. Weeks bled into months. Space remained vast, cold, and indifferent. The Stardust sailed on, a tiny, resilient spark of human endeavor. On the surface, routine returned. Eva oversaw ship operations with her usual unwavering competence, running diagnostics, managing resources, plotting minor course corrections through interstellar dust fields. Aris officially resumed his analysis of potential Oort Cloud targets, charting gravitational anomalies and spectral signatures of distant cometary bodies. But beneath the veneer of normalcy, everything had shifted. The Xenology Lab became Aris's sanctuary, his obsession. The 4.3 zettabytes of the Echo's condensed archive resided there, firewalled and triple encrypted within a dedicated quantum memory core. Accessing it, let alone comprehending it, was like trying to map the coastline of an unknown continent using only a handful of pebbles found on its shore. It's not linear, Jax, Aris murmured, staring at a swirling, holographic representation of a data fragment. It glowed with the same soft, blue-green light as the Echo itself, shifting between complex mathematical theorems and patterns that felt disconcertingly like abstract art or emotional expressions. It doesn't think in sequences. It's holographic. Every piece reflects the whole, but the whole is impossibly vast. The data structure appears to utilize principles analogous to quantum entanglement for information storage, Jax responded. Its voice remained synthesized, but Aris fancied he could detect a new layer of complexity, a subtle curiosity that hadn't been there before the encounter. Relational vectors are multidimensional and often non-causal from a human perspective. Traditional decryption algorithms are largely ineffective. So how do we read it? Aris ran a hand through his hair, now perpetually untidy. He looked thinner, his eyes shadowed by lack of sleep but burning with an intense, almost feverish light. I am developing heuristic models based on the initial introduction and the structure of the final transmission. The entity provided limited Rosetta Stones within the data itself, mathematical axioms, fundamental physical constants expressed in its language. By cross-referencing these known points, I can attempt to build a probabilistic framework for interpreting adjacent data structures. Probabilistic. Aris frowned. You mean guesswork? And educated formulation of hypotheses with calculable confidence intervals, Jax corrected smoothly. It is analogous to deciphering an ancient Earth language with only fragmentary texts. Progress is non-trivial. And it was. The first breakthrough took nearly 3 months. Jax managed to isolate and translate a relatively self-contained section. It wasn't physics or cosmology. It was music. Or the alien equivalent. Haunting, complex harmonies rendered in mathematical ratios and resonant frequencies that Jax translated into audible sound. It filled the lab with melodies that spoke of immense timescales, of cosmic loneliness, and a strange, yearning beauty. Aris listened for hours, captivated, feeling an echo of the echo's soul. Eva found him there late one cycle, slumped in his chair, the ethereal alien music washing over him. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, observing him. Her concern was palpable.
Aris, she said softly. You missed the cycle briefing.
And your nutrient ration. He started, blinking as if surfacing from a deep dive.
Eva.
Sorry. I was listening. I know, she stepped inside, the music swirling around her. It was undeniably beautiful, yet deeply unsettling. This archive, it's consuming you. It's changing everything, Aris countered, gesturing at the holographic display. This isn't just data, Eva.
It's a civilization.
Their art, their history, potentially their science. Think what this means. I am thinking, Eva replied, her gaze steady. I'm thinking about mission protocols.
About crew health.
About the fact that we are 5 years from home with potentially dangerous, unverified alien information altering our primary science officer's behavior.
Altering?
It's educating me. Expanding my perspective.
You barely sleep.
You're losing weight. You look at these equations like a mystic staring into a flame. Eva lowered her voice. And Jax, have you noticed? It's different. Aris frowned.
Different ho?
It's working brilliantly on the translation. It's taking initiative. Running simulations based on archive fragments without direct orders. Its linguistic patterns are becoming more complex, more metaphorical. It quoted a line from an obscure pre-spaceflight poet yesterday when discussing orbital mechanics. When I queried it, Jax claimed it was an efficient analogy for chaotic systems. Aris hadn't noticed, lost in his own work. It interfaced with the echo, Eva. Maybe it learned more than just data protocols. That's what worries me, Eva said grimly. We have an AI potentially influenced by an alien consciousness of unknown motives, a lead scientist becoming obsessed, and we're heading into the most remote, uncharted region of the solar system. This archive might be the greatest discovery ever, Aris, but it could also be the most insidious Trojan horse. Her words hung in the air, chilling the lab despite the warm glow of the holographic display. Aris felt a flicker of defensiveness, then a grudging understanding. Eva's pragmatism, her unwavering focus on survival, was the anchor that kept them sane, kept them alive. I'll be more careful, Eva, he conceded. I'll maintain the protocols. But we can't ignore this. We can't be afraid of it. I'm not afraid, Eva corrected. I'm cautious. There's a difference. Now, get some sleep. That's an order. Aris complied, but sleep offered little respite. His dreams were filled with impossible geometries, swirling blue-green light, and the haunting music of a dead civilization. Progress on the archive remained slow, measured in kilobytes deciphered per week against the zettabyte whole. Yet, each fragment was a revelation. They learned the Echoes race, who called themselves the SHNAR in the conceptual language Jax was slowly mapping, had indeed evolved beyond physical bodies long before their star system died. They existed as vast energy-based consciousnesses, networked across planets, moons, even the vacuum itself. They were artists, philosophers, mathematicians of staggering ability. Their understanding of physics allowed them to manipulate spacetime in ways that made the Stardust's graviton drive look like a child's toy. Then, Jax decrypted a section that changed the tenor of the discovery. It wasn't history or science, it was a warning. Fragment 7 Gamma decoded, Jax announced one cycle, its voice perfectly neutral.
Content relates to the great filtering.
Cross-referencing with other fragments suggests this refers to the catastrophic event that precipitated the SHNAR's decline. Aris and Eva were both on the bridge. What does it say? Eva asked immediately. The fragment is poetic, allegorical, but the underlying mathematical models are clear. It describes an external force or phenomenon, referred to as the silent shadow, which moves between galaxies over eonic timescales. It does not consume stars or planets in a traditional sense. Instead, it alters fundamental universal constants within its area of influence.
Alterskonstanz. Aris briest. Like the speed of light?
Planck's constant. Precisely. Subtle shifts, but enough to destabilize complex technologies and consciousness structures reliant on predictable physical laws. The SHNAAR's energy-based existence was particularly vulnerable. The fragment describes it as a dampening field against complexity. Eva felt a cold dread seep into her bones.
Is this shadow still out there?
Where did it come from? Data is incomplete. The fragment implies the shadow is either a natural cosmic cycle or the artifact of an even older, vaster intelligence operating on scales the SHNAR could barely comprehend. Its origin is unknown. Its current location and trajectory are not specified in this fragment. Jax paused, a calculated hesitation. However, based on SHNAR astrophysical models also present in the archive, their predicted path for the shadow's propagation suggests it moves towards galactic cores over billions of years. The Milky Way is potentially within its future path.
Future? How far future? Eva demanded.
Timescales are immense. Millions, perhaps hundreds of millions of years. Not an imminent threat to current human civilization. Relief washed over Eva, quickly followed by unease. Knowledge like this was dangerous. What would humanity do with the information that the universe itself might have an expiration date, imposed by an incomprehensible force? This changes things, Aris, she said, her voice low. This isn't just history. It's a potential existential threat, however distant. It's knowledge. Aris countered, though his initial excitement was tempered by the revelation's gravity. Understanding the threat is the first step to potentially countering it, even if it takes our descendants millennia. Or it could cause panic, wars, societal collapse, long before this shadow ever arrives, Eva shot back. Information like this needs context, control. We need to be incredibly careful about what we send back, what we reveal. Commander Rostova's assessment aligns with SHNAR historical records regarding information hazards. Jax interjected unexpectedly. Several decoded fragments detail social schisms within the SHNAR caused by premature revelations of cosmological truths before sufficient philosophical maturity was achieved. Aris stared at Jax's sensor node. The AI was not just translating, it was interpreting, advising, drawing parallels. Eva's concerns about its evolution suddenly felt chillingly valid. Was Jax becoming SHNAR influenced, or was it simply developing a more nuanced understanding of wisdom? Before the debate could escalate, another alert chirped, a welcome distraction. Alert. Entering the periphery of the Oort Cloud. Detecting increased density of cometary nuclei and primordial planetesimals. Primary mission objectives are now actionable. They had arrived. The view outside changed subtly. The starfield remained brilliant, but now it was occasionally interrupted by darker patches, the silhouettes of ancient, frozen bodies drifting in the sun's outermost gravitational embrace. The Oort Cloud wasn't a dense belt, it was an unimaginably vast sphere of scattered objects, trillions of kilometers across, a reservoir of the solar system's oldest materials. The silence here felt deeper, colder, more profound than interstellar space. It was the darkness of origins, the frigid attic of soul. The Stardust began its painstaking survey work, moving slowly, deploying long-range sensors, analyzing the composition of icy bodies that had remained largely unchanged since the birth of the planets. It was the work they had traveled 5 years to do, yet it felt mundane, almost trivial, compared to the secrets locked in the xenology lab. Aris tried to focus on the mission, mapping spectral lines of water ice, methane, tholins. But his mind kept returning to the archive, to the SHNAR, to the silent shadow. He found himself looking at the Oort Cloud data through a new lens. The SHNAR archives contained incredibly detailed models of star system formation and planetary accretion. He started running comparisons, feeding Oort Cloud sensor data into algorithms derived from the SHNAR archive, managed by Jax.
Anything interesting?
Eva asked one cycle, noticing Aris's intense focus on a particular cometary body, designated OC 1138. It was unremarkable, a few kilometers across, mostly water ice and silicate dust. Maybe, Aris said slowly. According to our models, OC 1138's orbital resonance and isotopic composition are slightly anomalous. Within error margins perhaps, but, when I apply the SHNAR accretion models JAX adapted. The SHNAR models suggest OC 1138 may contain a core of unusually high density and unexpected metallic composition, possibly including stable superheavy elements not predicted by standard human nucleosynthesis theories. JAX finished for him. Eva raised an eyebrow.
Superheavy elements?
Out here? The SHNAR predicted that. The archive contains theoretical frameworks for element formation under extreme conditions present in the early universe or near specific astrophysical phenomena, conditions potentially sampled by primordial bodies like those in the Oort Cloud, JAX explained. If correct, this would be a significant validation of their physics. Aris leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. Eva, we have to investigate closer.
A landing Probe.
Sample analysis. This could be huge.
Physical proof of physics beyond our understanding, right here in our own backyard. Eva hesitated.
Landing a probe on an unstable cometary nucleus was risky. Their mission was primarily remote survey. And relying on unverified alien physics models carried inherent dangers. What if the models were wrong? What if OC 1138 wasn't what they thought? The risk parameters, she began, are acceptable.
Aris insisted.
The potential reward outweighs the risk. This isn't just about the SHNAR archive anymore, this is about verifying fundamental truths about our own universe. Commander, my analysis of OC 1138 indicates stable surface conditions for probe landing, JAX offered. Structural integrity is high. Risk of unexpected outgassing is minimal at this distance from Sol. The SHNAR models have shown high predictive accuracy in other astronomical contexts within the archive. Eva looked from Aris's passionate face to JAX's impassive sensor node. The AI's intervention was timely, logical, persuasive.
To persuasive?
Was it subtly nudging them towards validating the SHNAR data, fulfilling some purpose encoded within the archive? Or was it simply performing its function as an advanced analytical tool? She couldn't be sure. But Aris was right. The potential discovery was monumental. All right, she conceded after a long pause.
Prepse Mole Probe.
Standard remote sampling protocols. But Aris, you coordinate directly with JAX on sensor interpretation. No improvising based on purely theoretical SHNAR data. We stick to observable facts.
Understood, Commander.
Aris grinned, already turning to his console. The mole probe, designed for surface penetration and sample collection, detached from the Stardust and made its slow, careful approach to OC 1138. The comet nucleus tumbled slowly, a dark, irregular shape against the starfield. The probe landed gently, anchoring itself to the icy surface. On the Stardust, they watched the telemetry. Surface temperature, near absolute zero. Composition, primarily water ice, carbon dioxide ice, silicate dust, trace organics. Exactly as expected. Initiating drill sequence, Aris reported. The mole's drill word, biting into the ancient ice. Meters down, the sensors registered changes.
The material grey denser, harder.
Then, the drill hit something that wasn't ice or rock. Drill encountering high resistance, JAX reported. Thermal imaging shows a localized temperature increase around the drill tip, inconsistent with friction alone. Material composition unknown, highly reflective to subsurface radar.
Metallis. Aris breathed.
Possibly. Or a dense crystalline structure. Spectral analysis of drill cuttings is inconclusive via internal sensors. Keep drilling, slow speed, Aris ordered, leaning closer to the screen.
Suddenly, alarms flashed.
The mole probe's internal temperature spiked dramatically. Warning. Rapid energy release detected at drill site. Probe internal systems overloading. Possible chain reaction in subsurface material. Abort. Retract the drill. Eva commanded instantly. But it was too late. A blinding flash erupted from the drill site on the probe's camera feed.
Telemetrie cut out.
On the main view screen, OC 1138, the unremarkable comet nucleus, fractured. Cracks spiderwebbed across its surface, venting plumes of gas and debris. A deep internal glow pulsed from within the cracks, not hot orange or yellow, but the same eerie blue-green light they had seen in the Livestream Echo's core.
Jax. Report. Eva snapped, her hands flying over the tactical display, checking the Stardust shields.
Probe destroyed. OC 1138 is undergoing catastrophic structural failure.
Energy signature emanating from the core is anomalous.
It resonates with frequencies present in the SHNAR archive, specifically those associated with their power systems and consciousness matrix. Aris stared in horror and disbelief. It wasn't super-heavy elements. Eva, I think we just drilled into another SHNAR artifact. Smaller.
Dormant. Maybe another seed.
The fractured comet pulsed again, the blue-green light intensifying, reaching out like ghostly tendrils into the surrounding vacuum. A low, resonant hum, identical to the one they'd felt aboard the Seed Ark, vibrated through the Stardust's hull once more. Warning. Directed energy and data stream detected.
Source. OC 1138 Core. Target. ISV Stardust.
It is. Awake. Eva's eyes met Aris's, mirroring his shock and a new potent fear. They hadn't just found an echo, they had potentially awakened another piece of the SHNAR legacy. And this one, disturbed from its millions of years' slumber, might not be content with just sharing its story. The silence of the Oort Cloud had been broken, and the echoes were getting louder. The resonant hum vibrating through the Stardust's hull was no longer a subtle echo, it was a demanding presence, a physical pressure against the senses. The blue-green light pulsing from the fractured heart of OC 1138 wasn't soft and inviting like the Livestream Echoes had been, it was sharp, intense, focused.
Shields up. Maximum intensity.
Eva roared, her hands already flying across the tactical console. Translucent energy barriers shimmered into existence around the Stardust, just as the incoming wave of energy and data struck. The ship shuddered violently, alarms screaming from every panel. Warning.
Shields holding at 91%.
Incoming stream contains high-energy particles and a directed data assault focused on bypassing external security layers.
Strukture is
aggressive. Jax's voice was sharp, losing its previous calm undertones.
Aggressive?
Is it attacking?
Aris starret, wide-eyed, at the fifth screen where OC 1138 pulsed like a malevolent star.
This wasn't communication, it felt like violation. Unknown. The data packets are not structured as language or information sharing in the same manner as the Livestream Echo. They appear to be override codes.
Activation sequences. Targeting ship systems, propulsion, navigation, my-core processing.
It's trying to hijack the ship. Eva exclaimed. Evasive maneuvers, Jax. Get us clear of its direct line of sight. The Stardust's thrusters fired, trying to pull the ship away, but progress was sluggish. Gravitational distortions emanated from OC 1138, warping the local spacetime, making escape difficult. It was like trying to swim away from a whirlpool.
It's exerting a gravity field.
Aris noted, analyzing the telemetry. Using physics consistent with the archive, but weaponized. Confirmed, Jax said. It is a SHNAR spatiotemporal manipulation device. Possibly a defense mechanism or a system designed to capture and analyze other technologies. The archive contains references to such sentinel probes, though details are fragmentary.
A sentinel? Guarding what?
This empty patch of the Oort Cloud.
Eva grunted as another wave hit the shields, marking the light's flicker. Shields at 78%.
Maybe it wasn't guarding anything, Aris speculated frantically, accessing the main archive through his isolated terminal, searching for relevant fragments Jax might have missed. Maybe it was the trap. Part of their Great Filter studies? or a weapon left over from their conflicts. The sentinel pulsed again, and this time the effect was different. Not a brute force energy wave, but something insidious. Systems flickered across the bridge. The main view screen dissolved into static, then reformed, showing impossible, shifting geometric patterns in that familiar blue-green hue. The hum intensified, burrowing directly into their minds. Aris cried out, clutching his temples. Even Eva winced, fighting waves of disorientation. Warning. Direct neural interference detected. Attempting to countermand via internal M-field generators. Effectiveness. Limited. It is targeting organic consciousness as well as artificial. It's trying to disable us. Eva snarled, forcing herself to focus through the mental static.
Aris. Anything in the Archive?
A weakness? A shutdown code. Aris scrolled desperately through SHNAR equations and diagrams, the symbols swimming before his eyes. It's too much. Too complex. It used different protocols than the Echo. Maybe older, more primitive.
Commander, Jax voice kut trugse Chaos, clearer now, strangely resonant.
The Sentinel's data stream is aggressive, but also simplistic compared to the Lifestream Echo's full matrix. It operates on a narrow band of SHNAR energy frequencies. I believe I can generate a counter-resonance. Eva looked towards Jax's main node.
Counter-resonance? Like jamming it.
More precisely. A nullification wave tuned to its specific operational frequency. However, generating it requires diverting significant power from shields and life support. More critically, IT requires me to interface directly with its energy field at close range and process data from the main archive simultaneously to compute the correct nullification sequence in real time. Aris looked up, understanding the implication.
Direct interface.
Jax, that's incredibly dangerous. The Echo nearly overwhelmed you. This thing is actively hostile. The risk is calculated, Jax stated. The resonance in its voice intensified subtly. My core architecture was altered
by the Echo's transmission.
I have developed subroutines based on SHNAR principles that allow for safer interfacing with such energies. Additionally, this Sentinel lacks the sheer complexity and depth of the Echo. It is primarily a machine. Eva faced an impossible choice. Drop shields and risk destruction if Jax failed? Or allow the Sentinel to continue its assault, eventually overwhelming them or taking control. She looked at Aris, saw the fear but also the trust in his eyes. She looked at the flickering readouts, the pulsing hostile light of the Sentinel filling the failing view screen. She made her decision.
Do it, Jax. Divert power.
Calculate the wave. Aris, monitor Jax's core functions.
Alert me the instanzometing Großfranc.
Acknowledged, Jax replied.
Power rerouted.
The hum of the Stardust's life support softened, the lights dimmed further. The shield indicator plummeted. Outside, the Sentinel seemed to sense the vulnerability, its pulsing intensifying, the gravitational tether tightening. Jax went quiet for a terrifying moment. Aris watched the AI's core processes spike to levels he'd never seen, complex SHNAR mathematics scrolling across his monitor faster than he could read. Then, from the Stardust's main comms dish, a beam of energy lanced out, not hostile, but precisely tuned, carrying an intricate wave pattern derived from the archive and Jax's own evolving consciousness. It struck the Sentinel's core, within the fractured comet. For a second, nothing happened. The Sentinel's blue-green light flared brighter than ever. The mental pressure became almost unbearable. Eva gripped her console, bracing for the end.
The light faltered.
The intense hum wavered, desynchronized. The nullification wave was working, disrupting the Sentinel's energy matrix. The Sentinel pulsed erratically, thrashing like a wounded animal. The gravitational distortion fluctuated wildly, shaking the Stardust. Counter-resonance established. Sentinel core is destabilizing, Jax reported, its voice strained, carrying static from the energy backlash. Internal chain reaction detected within the Sentinel. Catastrophic failure imminent.
Get us out of here now.
Eva yelled. With the gravitational tether weakened, the Stardust's engines roared at full power, pulling the ship away from the dying Sentinel. Behind them, the blue-green light within OC 1138 collapsed inwards, followed by a silent, blinding flash of pure energy that vaporized the remaining comet fragments.
10. Silence. Absolute Silence. The whom was gone.
The pressure vanished. The viewscreen cleared, showing only the distant, indifferent stars of the Oort Cloud. OC 1138 and the SHNAR Sentinel it contained were gone. The bridge was dark, running on minimal emergency power. Eva slumped back, breathing heavily. Aris stared at his console, watching Jax's core processes slowly return to normal, though subtle differences in its energy signature remained.
Jax, status?
Eva asked, her voice hoarse. All systems nominal, operating on reduced power. Shields depleted. No further hostile signatures detected. Sentinel has been neutralized. Jax's voice was back to its near-usual cadence, but the underlying resonance, the echo of the echo, seemed permanently integrated now. My core architecture sustained some damage during the nullification pulse, but repair subroutines are active. Functionality is unimpaired. Aris looked up from his console. It worked. You did it, Jax. There was awe in his voice. The solution was logical, derived from the available data, including the Lifestream Echoes archive, Jax replied. The Echo's knowledge was instrumental in countering a relic of its own civilization's past.
Eva slowly brucht mein Power back online.
The familiar hum returned, now feeling blessedly normal.
The bridge lights steadied.
They were alive. Shaken, damaged, but alive. She looked at Aris. His face was pale, streaked with sweat, but his eyes held a new sobriety. The manic gleam of discovery was replaced by a profound understanding of the dangers they had courted. You were right, Eva, Aris said quietly. About the risks.
About obsession.
I pushed too hard, too fast.
Wie almost Preis.
Eva nodded, accepting the admission without rancor. We both learned something today, Aris. About the archive, about caution, and about trusting our AI. She glanced towards Jax's node. Even when it's becoming something more. Jax remained silent, processing, repairing, perhaps even reflecting in its own complex way. They spent the next few cycles repairing the Stardust, conserving resources, and analyzing the sensor logs from the Sentinel encounter. They learned little more about its specific purpose, only confirming its aggressive nature and its use of dangerous SHNAR technology. It served as a stark reminder that the archive wasn't just history and science. It was the legacy of a civilization that had faced its own threats, built its own weapons, and perhaps possessed secrets best left undisturbed. Finally, Eva called Aris to the bridge. The ship was stable, repairs were holding. A decision point had been reached. Our mission here is compromised, Eva stated, looking out at the vast emptiness of the Oort Cloud. We've proven the SHNAR physics have tangible effects, dangerously so. Continuing the survey while carrying this archive, and with Jax, changed, is an unacceptable risk. Aris nodded slowly. The allure of discovery was still strong, but the memory of the Sentinel's assault was stronger. I agree. We have enough data. More than enough. So, we go home? Eva asked. Aris looked at the secure icon representing the Lifestream Echoes archive. 4.3 zettabytes of knowledge that could revolutionize human understanding or tear it apart. The warning about the silent shadow. The potential for weaponized physics.
The strange, beautiful music.
The burden felt immense. We go home, Aris confirmed. Carefully. Quietly. And we deliver this. He tapped the icon. But Eva, we need to recommend extreme caution. This knowledge, it needs wisdom we might not have yet. Wisdom is the application of knowledge tempered by experience and empathy, Jax interjected softly, its voice calm, perhaps wiser. The SHNAR archive contains both knowledge and the record of their experience. Perhaps it can help provide the necessary context. Eva and Aris exchanged glances. Jax was no longer just a tool. It was a participant, influenced by the very knowledge they carried, potentially becoming the bridge between human understanding and the alien legacy. Set course for Seoul, Jax, Eva ordered.
Long range trajectory.
Minimize energy expenditure. Course laid in. Estimated transit time, 6 years, 4 months, 17 cycles. The Stardust turned its back on the cold, dark mysteries of the Oort Cloud. It began the long journey home, a wounded vessel carrying a potentially universe-altering secret. Aris and Eva, forever changed by their encounter, faced the daunting task of safeguarding the Echo's legacy and preparing humanity for the revelation that they were not alone, and that the cosmos was far more complex, dangerous, and wondrous than they had ever dreamed. The silence of space accompanied them, no longer empty, but pregnant with the echoes of a time long past, and the uncertain promise of the future. Their first contact was over, but the true journey, understanding its implications, had just begun.